Hello and welcome to my comic book reviews. Today I will be reviewing the books that were released on the 17th of October 2012, and we start up with the big chunky book called Marvel Now .1 issue 1. It's a one-off book. As you can see, it's a thicker book, and in fact essentially it's about 6 little stories that are setting up some of the books that are coming out in the Marvel Now release from now to February, and they're really dealing with 6 maybe the lesser known characters or lesser known books to give you a bit more insight into what's coming up in them. Our story kicks off with this guy Nick Fury. Now many of you long-time Marvel readers will remember that Nick Fury was white. He was like that, so white that when they made a film of him in the 80s, David Hasselhoff in fact played Nick Fury. In the beginning of the 2000s, they brought out the Ultimates books, and you had like Ultimate Fantastic Four, Ultimate X-Men, and in that this was like set in a new world where the heroes got their powers today. It was the Marvel universe, but heroes got their powers in the modern day. So in this world they decided to have Nick Fury be black, because at the time I think they were already thinking about films, and they had Nick Fury be black because they were thinking that Samuel L. Jackson could one day play him. Well, now here we are all these years later, but probably about 10 years later, and that has become fact. Now most people, when you say Nick Fury, will mostly associate him with Samuel L. Jackson. So Marvel's 616 universe, they want to bring it in line more with the films. So it's like they're connecting Hulk in his new book more to S.H.I.E.L.D. They've changed some of the outfits to more reflect the films. You know, characters have been linked together, and one of the things that big changes was they had the other Nick Fury sort of go away to die. That the thing that stopped him from aging has sort of stopped, so he's sort of gone away now to die. And we find out he had a son, and his son loses an eye, and now he's working for S.H.I.E.L.D. And at the moment he's just a field agent. He isn't yet the director of S.H.I.E.L.D., but you can see the start of what will happen. And so this story kicks off with Nick Fury, and he and Agent Coulson are called in to interview this guy who's supposedly from the future. And as always with people from the future, he's full of doom and gloom. You know, why can't somebody ever turn up from the future with good news? You know, it's always such bad news. Anywho, so Fury's like, I'm not an interrogator, I'm a field agent. But apparently this guy will only talk to Fury. So he sort of talks about you don't know what's up in the stars, and then we jump to our Star-Lord story, which is the setup for Guardians of the Galaxy. This was a really good story. I really enjoyed this one. There was some really great art in it and some great moments. We then jump to our Nova story, where the Nova in here he says he's the same character that we saw in Avengers vs. X-Men, but he looks a lot younger than that Nova. We then jump to Young Avengers, and we have Loki trying to recruit Miss America to join the Young Avengers. Doesn't quite go well for Kid Loki. We then have an Ant-Man story, which sort of deals with him wanting revenge on Doctor Doom for killing his daughter. There's a great use of the AR app here. You shine the AR app on the page and it will show you how his daughter died, which I thought was really enhanced the reading pleasure. We then have another page of the interrogation before we move on to a Forge story, which is basically the setup for Cable and the X-Force. And then we finish a whole interrogation scene off with, you know, all hell breaks loose in the interrogation scene, and that sets up Secret Avengers. We then have this double page spread here of the books that are going to come up in the future issues, and right at the back we have this nice page that tells you who wrote what story. All in all, I enjoyed this book. It didn't really change my mind. The books I already had an idea I was going to try out, I'm still thinking I'm going to try out. The books that I wasn't interested in, I'm still not interested in. Though it was a fun read. I thought there was some nice usage of the AR app. I was a bit confused with the whole Nova thing. He looked younger than the character we met in Avengers vs. X-Men. Though I'm going to go back and look at them books. Maybe that was just my interpretation. Also, like, I was a bit confused about the whole Kid Loki thing. Is that the real Loki? Because the last I seen of Loki, he got killed in the siege. So I haven't been following all with Loki. Is that the actual Loki, or is that like his son or a clone, or what? But apart from that, I enjoyed this book. If you're curious about any of these titles, about whether to pick them up or not, it's a good book to pick up. If you're not really interested in picking up any new titles, I'd give it a miss. But it is a good read, and I'd give it a thumbs up overall. Next up, we have a little bit of comic book perfection. That is Hawkeye issue 3. This book, like how you can take a story. Hawkeye's sorting out his arrows. He's got all these trick arrows. So he decides he needs some labels. So he pops out to the shop to get some labels. And he just ends up getting involved with this woman and getting chased by mobsters who keep saying bro and wear tracksuits. It is brilliant. Just fantastic books, fantastically fun read. And it's just a collaborative effort. The writing by Matt Fraction is top notch. Hawkeye, he's got this kind of confidence bordering on arrogance that he's good at what he does, and that things will work out because he's so good. So he's got that arrogance, but at the heart of it, he's got a good heart and he wants to help people. If people are in trouble, or they need an equalizer, Hawkeye will be that equalizer. He'll protect those that can't protect themselves or aren't matched. And he just comes across as a really great character, a really great guy. You've then got your art, which is a kind of like a minimalistic style by David Ayer, and I don't mean that in a derogatory way, but he doesn't use as many lines and as much detail as other artists, but it just totally works and totally looks brilliant. You've then got the colours by Matt Hollingsworth, which are just brilliant. He uses again, it's a kind of like a minimalist approach where he uses very few colours. You've got a lot of purple in there, but he uses very few. He doesn't use a full colour palette. Very few colours that give it a unique look and a unique feel. But all these things together just go together and make this just the perfect comic book. It's a fantastic book. You don't need to have read the other issues. It's self-explanatory. You follow it easy enough. It's just a day in the life of Hawkeye when he's not with the Avengers, and it's just a fantastic read. And like I said, as you can see there, the art is just really good. The layouts, the story's good. It's got that unique look because of the colour palette that they're using. And yeah, just fantastic. I can't praise this book enough. Really go out and try it. You will not regret it. It's one of Marvel's cheaper books as well, one of their $2.99 books, but it's one of their best books they're putting out right now, and I give it a definite thumbs up. So yeah, check that out. Next up we have Daredevil, issue 19, written by Mark Waid with art by Chris Samney. I'd not read this book. I think I picked up the issue with Mole Man because I really like Mole Man, but I've not been reading this book, and I've heard a lot of good things about it, so I thought, you know what, I'm going to try it out, and I must say it was brilliant. A fantastic read, and the thing that really impressed me about the book was how easy it was to follow. I've not been reading this, I don't know the story, but with the short recap page at the beginning and then the issue itself, I just really followed this book no problem. Essentially what's happening is Daredevil, thinks he's going mad, and his friend Foggy thinks he's going mad, and so Foggy confides in Daredevil's girlfriend, who's like this big woman. What is she? She's got some prosecutor. She's got some big job for the city, and so Foggy's talking with her, trying to confess to her that Matt is Daredevil and that he thinks that Matt is going insane. Meanwhile, Daredevil sort of goes to Hank Pym to get him to scan him to find out is he going insane, and Hank sort of finds this radiation which helps Daredevil track down who's been doing this, and he's not insane. Somebody's been doing this. Somebody's been messing with him. So he goes to stop them, but he ends up getting captured, and things at the end don't end up too good for our hero. But this issue was brilliant. I loved the art. I thought the colours really worked well here and really added to the art. And I'm finding, I don't know if it's just something I'm really noticing lately, but you find that sometimes, how it really affects a book. But yeah, Really good read, really enjoyed it. Definitely on board for this book now. This is definitely going on my pull list. Really enjoyed this book. Again, it's one of Marvel's cheaper books. They're $2.99 range. But yeah, a definite thumbs up for this book. A brilliant read, easy to follow as well, and yeah, fantastic. Really try it out. You won't regret it. My pick of the week, and you've had two brilliant books there, and any other week those books would have been pick of the week. But this week, talking about comic book perfection, we have Before Watchmen, issue 4 of 6, Minutemen. Issue 4 of 6, written and illustrated by Darwin Cook, and by this guy is a genius. These characters were created by the man that is Alan Moore, who himself is a comic book genius. But Darwin Cook has put the meat and bones in these characters and made them his own. Fantastic book. This issue sort of deals with the death of Silhouette, and she's kind of like the glue that keeps the Minutemen together. And when she leaves, the team start falling apart. She's sort of kicked out the group. It comes out that she's a lesbian, and she's kicked out, and she ends up getting killed by this villain called the Liquidator, her and her girlfriend. So we're sort of dealing with the after effects of this, how Night Owl, who was in love with her, even though he knew she was a lesbian, he was still in love with her, how he deals with it. We also see how Silk Spectre deals with it. Silk Spectre also gets her first run-in with the comedian since he raped her. So that's pretty intense, and he sort of tells her about the war and about the sort of things that have happened to him during the war while he's been abroad. So, you know, really good book. So much is happening in this book. I haven't done it justice there. There's just so much depth to this book, and so much that is happening. The art is gorgeous, totally evocative of the era, and I'm feeling that old, making the book feel like that old school feel, you know, that makes you kind of nostalgic. But all through, this is just a fantastic book. The story is brilliant and adult, but not in a way, oh, here we got some tits, you know, not in that kind of like adult, we're going to put some bad language and some nudity in and call it adult. No, it's a really dark book in many ways. We get the origin of the Silhouette, which is really good, and we get to find out how she met her girlfriend and that, and it's just a really, really great book. So much is crammed in here. I couldn't believe, you know, so many of the characters get their moment. You've got like Silk Spectre gets her moment, and when she goes after the guy that killed the Silhouette, she goes after the Liquidator, and we get to see what happens there. We then get the comedian and what he's been up to during the war. We get, you know, Night Owl sort of dealing with this woman that he's lost, that he loved. We get Silhouette's origin, you know, so much is crammed into this, and also you get Mothman's further descent into where he'll end up. So, you know, just a fantastic book, and that I'm really sad that it's only 6 issues, because, you know, I could read this, but then I don't know if they'd run out of story if it wasn't 6 issues. But so far, this is just a masterpiece, and certainly one of the best comic books that's come out this year. It's consistently excellent, the art is consistently brilliant, and I give it a definite thumbs up, and it is my pick of the week. And please, you know, if you've not been reading this, even if you're not a fan of Watchmen, check this book out, because it's just brilliant. Next up, we have Justice League issue 13, written by Jeff Johns, art by Tony Daniel, and it's a good issue. You know, I don't know what I think, because I've seen what Tony Daniel's done on books like Hawkeye and Batman Detective Comics. I kind of have a negative connotation when I see Tony Daniel's name now, but in reading this book, he does the art in this book, and I thought he done a good job on the art here. The story centers around Cheetah, and we sort of join the story, and sort of Wonder Woman sort of flies off after her and Superman have kissed. We then jump 5 days to Wonder Woman battling the Cheetah, and we get this sense that they know each other. Cheetah manages to knock out Wonder Woman, which, when you think Wonder Woman's gone toe to toe with Superman and the Green Lantern, shows you how tough the Cheetah must be if she can knock Wonder Woman out. So then we sort of get all the backstory of who the Cheetah was and is, and how she came to be. And then the Justice League sort of are going to go off and sort of deal with it, which doesn't go too well. There's a really nice scene in here between the Flash and Cyborg, which I'd like to see more of. That this little seed of this friendship blossoming, and I really liked that. You know, also there's a scene with Superman and Wonder Woman where she's sort of like, it's a kiss, it wasn't nothing more, and he's like, I know, but it was good, and she's like, yeah, it was. So like they're not a couple yet. We thought after the last issue where they were having the smoochy moochy that they were going to be a couple now, but obviously at this stage they're not. But all in all, I enjoyed this issue. Then you've got like a nice backup story which is written by Jeff Johns and Jeff Lemire, and it sort of deals with Steve Trevor, and it features Green Arrow in there as well, and it's a bit of a setup for Justice League of America that comes out next year. Also, we get a nice little preview at the back of this issue of the new Superman comic, Superman issue 13, which I really enjoyed. In the new 52, I think it's the most I've enjoyed a Superman comic, and we only got 5 pages, so I'm definitely considering picking up the issue 13 of that with the new creative team. But for this book, it was good. You know, as you can see there, we start off with the whole kissing scene, and then we go straight into combat. You know, like I say, I think Tony Dan does a really good job with the art. You know, you know, we move on with the issue. This is where, you know, we're then looking at the backup, which I'm trying to find out who writes the backup. I'm just going to see who. I know who writes pencil. Brad Walker draws the backup feature, and then at the back, like I said, we've got the Superman story. 5 pages of the next issue of Superman, which I must admit looked really good. So all in all, I think this was a really good book. In the main, when DC bring out a $3.99 book, you get a lot of bang for your buck. Whether it's Justice League or Batman Detective Comics or Batman or Superman Action Comics or Batman Beyond Unlimited, all of these books are thicker. You get a lot more pages, and you feel you're getting bang for your buck. So I you know, though I don't like, you know, I think the $3.99 books are a lot. At least with DC, I feel I'm getting my money's worth. The story here is good. We seem to have took a time out. There was no Shazam, which was disappointing. I thought we might at least see him, little clips of him going on before he come to the attention of the Justice League. Because you've got to think a guy with that kind of power is eventually going to come to their attention. Especially if he's going around doing superhero stuff for money. You'd think they would. So it was disappointing we didn't see none of him. However, you know, and it does seem like that there are bits that have been left from the last like story, but I think they've been left deliberately. But however, I really enjoyed this issue, and I'd give it a thumbs up. I think Justice League is on good ground at the moment, and I was pleasantly surprised by the art as well, so I'd give it a thumbs up. Next up, we have He-Man and the Masters of the Universe, written by Keith Giffen, art by Philip Tan. Issue 3 here, Adam and Teela are still on the run, having met up with their Falcon Zor. They're going to go across the sea now, which is a bad idea, as they run into Merman. And Merman, you know, intends to fulfill what Skeletor said. Again in this issue, they referred to Skeletor as He-Man's uncle, which I never knew Skeletor was He-Man's uncle. I don't remember that from the cartoon, though I was only a kid when I watched the cartoon, so it might have been something I never picked up on, but I don't know if that's something that come around later from the comic or one of the later cartoons, but you know, I never knew that. You know, also, though we do see Skeletor in here, he's like, and we see he's got the sorceress, and she's all tied up. All in all, I enjoyed this book. I think Skeletor, they're making really creepy and scary. I like what they've done with Skeletor. I didn't like Merman's tail. I didn't understand why he had a tail. As far as I know, there aren't that many sea creatures that have tails, but I did really like the reimagining of Merman apart from the tail. I liked a lot of the scenes between He-Man, well, Adam as he is at the moment, and Teela. I liked the banter. It really reminded me of the cartoon. So all in all, I felt it was a good issue. You got the mystery, and they're unraveling more bits of it. We had a mention of Man-at-Arms. We had a mention of Adam being a prince. So they're slowly unraveling this mystery. At the moment, my one fear with the book is that we're not going to see Adam become He-Man until issue 6. And that we're going to see him have this big battle in issue 6, and then the miniseries is going to finish. I really hope that don't happen. But I must say I'm enjoying this book. It's not been an easy job for Keith Giffen to take over after another writer. And you've got to think, do stick with the story they were telling and tell it in your way, or do you try and tell a different story but starting there, use their beginning but then use it to tell a different story? I don't know, but so it's a difficult position, you know, for Keith Giffen, but I'm enjoying the book, and you know, I'm definitely going to be on board for the next issue, and I give it a thumbs up. The art as well, I'm glad Philip Tan is still on board. I did like his drawings and his reimagining of the characters. See, we've got the Sorceress there, and Skeletor. Sorceress doesn't look well at all. I'm trying to find, oh yeah, here we have Merman. If you look up there, we have Merman in the scene. I liked what they did with Merman in the main. Like I say, I just did not like the tail. I cannot recall, and have it down here, you've got a picture of him with the tail. If you look at those two pictures, I just did not think, I cannot not recall any sea creatures having tails. I know fish have fins and all that, but it's so they can move in the water. I didn't see what advantage having a tail would be to Merman. I think they did have a character with a tail. Was it Whiplash? I don't know if they've tried to combine Whiplash with Merman. I don't know, but anywho, a good issue. I'm enjoying it. It's going good. Finally, my last book this week is AVX Consequences. I was going to say Casualties. AVX Consequences issue 2. It's a 5-issue miniseries that's going to take place for the next 5 weeks. It is written by Kieran Gillen with art by Steve Kirch. This issue centres around Cyclops, where last issue we had a lot of different characters, a lot of different scenes. This issue centres around Cyclops. Initially you have the confrontation between him and Wolverine as they discuss what's happened, and Wolverine wants him to give up where the rest of the Extinction team are. Cyclops tries to goad Wolverine because he wants to be killed, basically. So he tries to goad Wolverine into attacking him, and we sort of deal, you know, that Cyclops really does have a death wish in here. I enjoyed this issue. I thought the scenes were pretty intense between Wolverine and Cyclops, and how Cyclops still maintains what he done was right, even down to killing Xavier, because, you know, the effect justifies the cause, you know, so it is good. It'll be interesting next issue to see if we're going to feature one character, because the cover, they got the cover at the back here for next week's issue is going to feature Iron Man. So I'm kind of like wondering, does that mean we're now going to have, like, for the rest of these miniseries they're going to centre on one character, or is he just on the cover? I don't know. It'll be interesting to find out, but I'm enjoying this book. I really did enjoy this book. Yeah, it's not a Hawkeye or a Daredevil, but it's really good. And the one thing with AVX, and that you know, me and a lot of other people criticised it for, is there was a lot of action. Which a book called Avengers vs X-Men, you want a certain amount of action, but you know, people for that there was too much action and not enough dialogue, not enough sort of talking. And to an extent, I can see what they mean, but at the same time, you've got a book called Avengers vs X-Men. You sort of got to do what it says on the tin. I think this book in a way has kind of redressed that balance, where we're getting a lot now of the discussions of why people did what they did during the AVX, and sort of dealing with the consequences of that. And this is what this book very much is about, as like most of the book is Wolverine and Cyclops sort of just talking out, and Cyclops justifying what he done, and that in his mind he was still right, he did what was right. You know, and I liked, you know, and that was something I liked about this book. It made it a really fascinating read, and you know, I enjoyed it, and I'd give it a thumbs up. So that's it for this week, my comic book reviews. Hopefully I will be back with an extra video over the weekend. I've got another Marvel graphic novel review video to do, so I will be doing that hopefully Sunday. I will get that done, and it'll be up sometime around Sunday evening, Monday morning. But thanks as again for watching. It was a good week. It was a strange week comic book wise for me this week. Last week, you know, I was really looking forward to Uncanny Avengers and Batman issue 13. Those were two books that for months I'd been looking forward to. This week was that strange kind of week where there weren't as many books that I was looking forward to. I always look forward to my comic book day and look forward to my comic books, but there weren't as many books that, you know, I'd been anticipating. But this week was a really strong week, and there were some really great books out there that certainly deserve to be checked out. But anyway, enough of me rambling on. Thanks for watching as always. I'll see you again soon, hopefully, and bye for now.